We have to begin the discussions for AM Talk. I have as my guest for the morning Nana Yao Edichum. He's a member of the MPP, and Wanda Madilo is also a member of the NDC's communication team. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me. I see you're in your colors. He's not well represented. It's just less than 48 hours to the start of that very important congress of your party, and crucially, we have various stories. For example, we have on the front page of the Daily Guide basically saying that Alan has now officially joined the race. I believe he joined the race a long time ago. Only his has not been characterized by press conferences, etc. We're waiting. The point is that if you organize a press conference, it has to measure up to the standards of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. That's a difficulty for many of the individuals in the party who want to contest for that very position as flag bearer for the party. We have front page, the searchlight that says Afoko targets Nana Addo Bawumia. No. But it is because Afoko is said to have scattered the voters' list. Just before the close of news day yesterday, that's on Wednesday, we had the news circulating across the media that there's a list supposedly that was emanating from the camp of Paul Afoko that said the voting list for the Congress would have been including Bawumia as well as Nana Addo. And according to the constitution, that was not supposed to happen. On the front page of the Daily Dispatch, who chairs MPP, Owari or Afoko? Your Congress.
Thank you very much, and let me say good morning to your viewers. First of all, regards to the statement on the front page of Daily Guide, I think that if you read the first two paragraphs, it's very clear that the statement issued by Honorable Alan Martin is actually a goodwill message. So he's wishing all the delegates traveling to Tamale God mercies. And
are you talking about the Daily Guide story?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So I think that the main message is he's wishing MPP supporters.
But they say he joined the race. You are talking about message.
Of course, I think that one. No, I'm saying you even put it correctly that there is no doubt about that, and there is no doubt about that. That is a fact. But he has not made official declaration. That is the point that I want to underscore. And also to assume that everybody should measure up to Nana Addo, I think is not the point. The point is that individuals within the party have their different style of campaigning, and we have to respect that. Now, on the issue of our conference, it's a congress. It's a conference. That is a mistake that the media is making. This one is a conference, a delegate conference. And in our constitution, it is very clear about those, and it is not all the time that we use our conference in electing national executive members. It happens it should happen every year. However, our officers have 4-year tenure, so at the end of the 4th year, there should be election, and usually election happens during our conference. The point I was drawing home was that if you look at our constitution, it's very clear, as you yourself pointed out. So I think that the media is doing some aspirant bidding by claiming that Mr. Paul Afoko is rather creating problems for or showing antagonism to anybody within the party. He is rather upholding the constitution, and as a member of MPP, one of our pride is that we uphold the constitution, and one of the things that our folks in the NDC are unable to do is their respect for rule of law. We respect rule of law. The difficulty I have is that the election committee, I believe that is made up of very intelligent, exposed people, and the fact that they have presented an electoral register which include Nana Addo, Bawumia, and also former national executive officers, that of course is an anomaly. So if an aspirant is drawing our attention to such an anomaly, I think that we should have endorsed, because my information from Mr. Foko's camp is that he wrote a letter, not copied to the media, to the election committee, drawing their attention to
but was
this
leaked
mistake.
To the media somehow.
It was leaked to the media, and it doesn't serve the purpose of MPP. We must do things right, because we all didn't like what happened at the Supreme Court, some of the mistakes that occurred during the 2012 election, and it's an opportunity for us to prove not only to the EC, but also to the whole world, that we always do things right. So I think that most of the headlines are misleading. The fact is that our constitution is very clear. You can attend National Council meeting, NEC meeting, but you don't have voting rights. Those who have voting rights, indeed, I check, their names or positions, their positions have been highlighted. Former president.
I just want to pull this straight. It's not as if I'm defending the media, but yesterday, if you do a content analysis of what really was coming out of the media, you get to see that all the issues about who attends a Congress are adequately stipulated in your constitution.
Yes.
And those also have been highlighted by the media as well. Now considering that Paul Afoko, one of the candidates, particularly if you look at all the things that he's gone through, and him coming to raise this very subject of this very list that will be used for the voting, and having the names of people who are not supposed to be there. Well, it may not be a cause for worry, but at least it's something that should be done right.
Yeah, first of all, let me just wish them all the best for their Congress. We from the NDC wish them well. The best we can get from them is very good opposition, and so we're fine, we're good to go when it comes to whatever they're doing. But there are a lot of bottlenecks that could have been taken care of. For instance, I see a particular trend which gets worrying. From the very first day Paul Afoko entered the race, there have been all kinds of, bad-mouthing stories and issues that eventually were proven otherwise wrong and all that. Even on the day of balloting, they had to suspend that of the chairmanship and do it later, all because he was taken out of the race. They said they were investigating some criminal, whatever. At the end of the day, the gentleman has been proven right. He's back in the race, even back in the race with a lot of challenges. And so I think that it should not be the case of the fact that somebody wants somebody to be there, and so everything must go against whoever must not be there.
But that's just a perception, because
it's really not a perception. I think this is deeper than a perception.
Because yesterday we had Mustafa Hamid, who was also on one of the top radio stations in Accra, trying to make that very clarification that whatever concerns that have been raised was not because perhaps the party and its leadership would be favoring one particular candidate.
It is obvious the party and its leadership are favoring one candidate. But we've had people in the party raising red flags.
But those are observations, perhaps being made independently outside the party.
They are really not observations, because if you look at the trend of issues, people like people like Sir John have declared their support in particular angles, and we've known over the years who are supported.
Well, it's a political party matter, but particularly for a party that prides itself for stimulating participatory democracy and freedom of speech among its ranks. It's not that unusual, is it?
I don't know to what extent that is working in the party, because we've seen the trend. It's been viral. It's something that has gone on for many years.
Now, particularly
for instance, Paul Afoko suffered a lot. I mean, in the days past or in the years past, because of his allegiance to one presidential candidate in the past. And as you can see, there is the notion, or there is the reality, if I can say that, of one political element in their party, or who wants to be president, or who wants to be flag bearer of their party, beginning to take some decisions along certain lines, to the extent that he has to come out, and Nanado himself and his communication guys will have to come out to say Nanado is not supporting any candidate, and all. Tells you that there is some deep-seated perception otherwise, as you put it out, for people to think that he's supporting some people. Today, on the front page of one of the dailies, there were faces of people that Nanado wished to have as executive, national executive.
Well, as you also well know, politics is a game.
It's a game, but let's play it fairly.
Lobbying is part of politics, and it's not unusually wrong.
If your biggest pride,
for such lobbying should be made behind the scenes. I
don't have a problem. If your biggest pride as a party is that you have deepened democracy and that you believe in participatory governance and all that, then we don't need to have some of these things happening. If people like, parties like PNC, CPP can go to Congress without issues. So in your view, you feel that a level playing field has not been created, and the gentleman is raised a lot of red flags, and these are obvious things they know about. They might deny it, but they know.
Roland, I think that my friend Wanda will want to feed on some of these gaps that have
well,
been created.
they are independent people, just like when theirs is ongoing, you also make certain observations.
We're watching from a distance.
We're worried for you. Interest stakeholder. I don't have problem with the way they comment on some of these things. However, the way you were trying to correct him, you must accept the fact that
I was not trying to correct him. I was making an observation. Well, because I'm not a member of your party, so I know.
You are independent. I can say that your views are dispassionate views.
Even at the vetting, the kind of questions that were asked and the responses he gave.
Was done indoors.
Yes, but he came out to speak. Martin Jacobson and all the others spoke to it. He talked about the fact that they asked him to produce a certificate and what kind of, and he even told them this is not a vetting. If you want to vet me and you need documents.
Well, good that you're not a member of the MPP, so you don't say much.
We're worried for you. We're really worried for you.
One thing, MPP, we are center-right, conservative. We believe in competition and contest. The bottom line is that competition, of course, will raise some of these frictions. But they don't characterize the whole nature of the conference or competition that we've been having days past. The important point is that the issues that have been raised during the campaign, to me, 80% of them have been very positive for Ghana and for MPP and our image. I also concede to the fact that some of them we should have treated them, I think, in a better manner. That one I concede. But we are still far, far better than NDC.
That's not true. That's not true. Well, that's true. But you have a specific issue. You have a congress.
A conference.
You have a conference. Okay. Thank you for correcting me always. It reminds you of the National Democratic Congress. Okay. Now you have a conference for which preparations towards has been not in turmoil, but the issues that have been raised prior to the conference have been issues that have bogged the mind of many people, not particularly for those independent people who tend to like your party because of the way you say you are. Then it means, well, things might not be done or are not being done right at all.
No, Roland, see, the specific issue that Wanda raised about Mr. Afoko, I mean, we all admit, majority of Ghanaians, both MPP and non-MPP, admit that you would have been treated far, far better. Because if you, the nature of the petition and even the format, we all condemn it. However, we've been able to overcome that particular issue. Paul Afoko is in the race. The NDC is trying to twist a lot of. NDC is trying to twist a lot of issues to their advantage.
I believe so far they've made very independent comments so far. Not very much antagonizing.
No, we're not there.
The fact that I think that the fact that Nanadu, for example, will come up with people that he prefers is no news, because we must all have stake in the party. I'm a member of the party. I believe that this conference should elect leaders who are competent, who are willing to sacrifice. And I can mention names. I believe somebody like, if you're in a position, your key responsibility is to have somebody who can man the secretariat of the party and control, bring discipline, be very strategic, have ability to communicate well. And therefore, a candidate like Mr. Kobne Japan should be preferred by a majority of the party. So if I sit here and promote Mr. Japan, I think that there's nothing wrong with that.
I didn't bring you here for you to be
to do that. I'm just saying that it depends on the nature of the competition, the people who are contesting for position, and the qualities or the competencies that they bring on board. That is the focus of the delegates who are going to vote internally.
Now, precisely the point we're making, that when some of these gesticulations or gestures are made, and especially when they don't tend to create the atmosphere for people to want their views adequately because they're skewed, two, also don't tend to create equitable atmosphere for people to also make their views known and even participate in a process that already has been outlined for a particular event, then there's no equity anywhere.
That point I think I've conceded to that, but I'm saying that on a larger scale, I think that we've carried ourselves quite well. I also concede that there are a lot of things that we could have done better. For example, I have disagreement with the Director of Elections. The way he comes up to talk about issues, he should know that he is an officer of the party. Thank you. Perry Okujeto, my friend, Director of Communication, he's an officer of the party. as far as they will vote at Tamale, it doesn't mean that they should show bias. So I'm very much disappointed in the way that Poafoko's letter to the election committee was leaked to the media. That is not right. And these are things that we must be bold and courageous to condemn. That one I do in all certainty.
Mr. Mandilo, Mr. Mandilo, who determines what is skewed, what is not fair, what is not equitable, based on observation? Because all that is relative.
Well, I think the biggest measure is the Constitution, their Constitution. The Constitution stipulates clearly who is eligible to vote, who cannot vote, who can aspire for an office, who cannot,
well, precisely.
and all that. And so when you hear things that clearly are against the Constitution, for instance, just yesterday, a young man secured a court order restraining them from using 3 constituencies in the delegate list. What does that mean to you? It means, and the elections we had about, they had those elections about 3-4 months ago, and these red flags have been raised. It was your duty to look into it, manage the issues, and make sure that you rerun the elections or you take them out of the delegate list. At the end of the day, what happened? The guy went to court and secured an order. You have only 48 hours or so to your Congress, and you now have an order sitting on your hand. And today, this morning, we're told that they want to rerun those elections today so they can be able to vote. What is the motivation? I mean, you can go around the elections and see the difference. If the difference between the first and the second is not that big, and those results can make a difference, then you can go back and run them and do your elections. But to make it look as if you want some particular candidates to win at all costs doesn't speak well. I mean, since the days passed, Poafoko never speaks to the media except the issue is leaked. Every time he writes to the elections directorate, and they...
Well, the other chairman also don't speak to the media, if I remember.
Somehow, some way, they push it under. Poafoko went to a meeting or whatever when they were deciding their last...
So you're claiming that certain candidates have control of the media space?
I think that the MPP must open up. They should open up.
It happens.
Let me give you a very big point. They should open up. And open up very well to the other tribes, because it's still looking like
I think that is an unfortunate statement.
I think your argument is no. I think your argument is no.
It's not. It cannot be so much out of the way to find out that Poafoko is being victimized for chairmanship. It cannot be. It cannot be. It cannot, because if you look at the background of the people who are aspiring for chairmanship, if you look at the people who are going for the chairmanship and the caliber of them, Poafoko stands tall amongst them. This man has been in the party all this while. He never knew that he was an ex-convict until he decided to contest for chairmanship. It is not fair. You did this to
just a minute to comment on the fact that we don't open up to other tribes.
No, open up.
Since our party was formed for Fourth Republic.
You never mentioned the Drobo
Roland Hassan, who is in Tamale now.
Please let him make his point.
Who is in Tamale now, and I believe I will see at the conference, was our first vice presidential running mate. NDC went south-south. All elections that we've contested since '92, we have had south-north. If you look at even the crop of our national executive as we speak now, we have all executives from various regions. NDC, you have 80% of
so you've debunked
from water regions.
All those. Okay. Let's not talk on the tribal issues, because no matter what, we'll come up in the politics about 2016 anyway. So we reserve all those arguments for the electioneering for 2016. But so now we have all these concerns being raised. How do you make sure that these create the needed harmony for the party, especially after the elections? Because it's critical for wounds to be healed and for the peace pipes to be smoked.
That's very important. And I think unity, if you look at all the candidates who are contesting for various positions, their core messages have centered around unity for the party. And the most important thing that we must all adhere to is the process of the election. And yourself, you made a point that if the process of election we should all have confidence in the process, and it must be equitable. The process itself must be equitable. The integrity should be protected at all times. What we should do as a party, in my view, is that immediately after the conference, those who will win position, the responsibility lies on them to ensure that those who will not be successful are also bring on board And this is the point that I think leading members of the party have made. And I remember that an interview this week by Honorable Alan Martin, he referred to the fact that we must work towards promoting greater unity in the party. And it shouldn't be rhetoric. Our actions should show that. And I think that it is very critical that those, especially the 48 hours that we have, we must behave in that manner. We shouldn't antagonize those who are contesting irrespective of the position we have. And this draws my attention to the fact that those who have been put in charge to run the election in Tamale must ensure that the field is, level. I'm going to be in Tamale. I'm leaving tomorrow morning. And I believe that we should ensure that at every critical point, if any issue is raised by any aspirant or any member of the party, we must interrogate the issues being raised. We must refer to the Constitution to address it. And the fact that we have interest in who becomes the chairman or the general secretary, there's nothing wrong with that. But the way we carry our interest about is the most critical point in my view. And I think that the leadership of the party, especially the National Council of Elders, this is the point that we require their leadership, and it's very important that they talk to some of the guys who are running who are in front of the elections. And in this view, I will urge my brothers who have responsibility to man the election, I mean the voting process itself at Tamale, to ensure that they don't create any scene that NDC especially will feed on, or that will give us a negative. Because
I was just about to ask that as political parties, Madilo, how do you make sure that when people want to contest and in their bid to occupy certain positions or take up certain roles within the party, the antagonism that is created doesn't tend to poison a certain atmosphere that could also jeopardize chances of your organizations to achieve certain aspirations, whether within the medium to long term? And your aspirations always is to create stability politically and occupy political office.
Well, for the NDC, we've learned our lessons way back in 2000.
Well, your Congress is coming up. I don't think you have to quit in praising yourself.
No. We've gone around this for a lot of time, so we know what we're talking about. We've had, you remember in 2000, we've had a lot of breakaways, I mean, from the party. Obeda Samoa, the likes of Frances Siam, our last Congress to elect our leaders and all that. So we've learned our lessons, and there have been mechanisms over the period. How do we heal the wounds? A lot of the times it has to do with the presidential candidate, because as a party rep, if I am, say, the general secretary, will not be able to heal everybody and bring everybody together. He will not be the rallying point because he is just a general secretary. But you need a leader, a flag bearer, who, quote unquote, can bring the people together, who won't come and create factions and behave as if he wants some people, and once those people didn't win or didn't support him, and then the cracks continue. We saw that in the MPP clearly in 2008. They suffered it. 2012 they suffered it. A lot of people were relegated to the background. The likes of Peter McMenu and the others who really know the dictates, the details of election organization and management and campaign and all that were virtually at the background. The likes of even Alan Chamante, I mean, so a big stakeholder like Alan Chamante was relegated to the background. I mean, so you can understand, you know, some of this issue in the context of the leader. If you have a leader who cannot unify and synergize, you know, the energies of all the people behind him, then you have this problem. And then there's also the problem of deep-rooted, you know, suspicion that because this person was not for me, he will not be for me even after the elections are over.
Okay, but so in such instances, when there are perceived divisions in the ranks, how does it affect? So supposing we have somebody who is in the lead as far as the polls are concerned. In our part of the world, we don't do a lot of the polls during this very period. But the point is, somebody is a lead in the polls. For us, we use just normal observations just to make our conclusions. And the person definitely will be in office. How does it tend to create a fracas or create disunity, or in some instances creates a lot more unity?
The difficulty is that, you know, country management or governance. It's about human resource, the real people, having the people around you to do it. If, perchance, all that happens and you win and you become president, one of the difficulties you're going to have is that it will be difficult for you to work with certain people in the name of I don't trust them. And so you have a limited human resource to deal with. And that can pose a lot of challenge for you. Number two also, a lot of those people have followers. And so if you're going to behave in a manner that just because of your followers, or you're going to take decisions based on what you believe your followers are comfortable with, at the end of the day, you have a situation where you're ruling all right, but you don't have the majority behind you. And so you are naked, kind of, let me use the word. And so really it's in your interest to make sure. For instance, Obama contested Hillary Clinton, the wife of Bill Clinton. At the end of the day, what happened? She was appointed Secretary of State. And that's almost like being the president's rep everywhere. And she delivered. Even run up to these 2012 elections, when things were tough, you went for Bill Clinton. This is somebody whose wife contested you way back. But because of the understanding that we need everybody, it is an all-play, all-game. You need everybody on board to be able to deliver. And I think that is what Nanado is suffered from even the last two elections. The fact that there was so much cracks.
No, you are discussing a very neutral position now.
We're giving the political dynamics. So
yes,
I told you about ours in 2000. He didn't have a problem with that. The moment I mentioned Nanado, he has a problem. So there are difficulties. Even somebody like Kufuor could not play a very central role, I mean, in the affairs of the MPP, run up to the elections. And I think that really doesn't help. For us, we'll be excited and happy if you are not putting your house in order. But it will be good for you as a statesman and as a leader, and to show us that even if you win as a president of this country, you can rally all of us together. If you can't manage your own small party, have a quarter of the population of this country, how possible will it be that you can manage this 25 million people? So it's a worry, and it's a dent on the reputation and the character of the one who wants to be the leader of that political party. And we need to be watching out for some of these things. The wars that have happened in the past in some other countries in Africa and all that have been issues that are traceable to political party organization and the way they went about things. Victimizing somebody, trying to make sure that you are the boss, and then you play the rules.
You're taking my time. Yeah. I think you're enjoying it when the MPP are having difficulties.
No. But in 2011, I think they had, was it 2000 when you had Fonka in game?
Oh, Fonka and game didn't have it.
Let's not make the debate just an NPC MPP
of course.
thing.
This is an intra-party.
Yes. So, I mean, to create the intra-party
competition
atmosphere, there's always that word. Is it camaraderie or call it?
Yeah.
How do we make sure that after all the antagonism and everything, you are surely going to get the people who were not with you with you?
See, Roland, the bottom line is that at any elections, of course, you have victims. And victims in this context means those who fail to win their various positions. The honors will lie on the structure of the party, in my view, and those who are going to manage the structure of the party. In this particular context, we are going to elect national executive members or national executive officers. The leader of that structure is going to be the national chairperson, and I believe that the 4 people who are vying for the national chairperson position all have some track record which are enviable. The challenge, in my view, is how they manage to bring people on board after Tamale, and that can be done not only after Tamale, but how the campaign have been carried out so far, and especially what will happen on Saturday or Friday night up to Saturday and declaration. The important point that we as a party collectively that we must work towards achieving is to ensure that at every material moment we do things right and we do things per our constitution. And that is the reason why I said earlier that the fact that an aspirant is drawing our attention to a mistake that genuinely might have been made by the election committee is an important point for us to reflect and quickly deal with. The second point is also that we must also, after the elections, the constitution grants opportunity for appointment, and I think that 50% of the officers are also going to be appointed. And that is the point that you bring people on board. So to me, we should use that model as a strategy to open up to interested parties. And I will be very excited to see some candidates playing deputy roles to the lead, the winners after the primaries. Of course, we must also understand that the fact that you have put yourself out for election doesn't mean that you have the best talent to help the party. The third point is also that at what stage do we want to offer our services to our party? I'm a polling station executive. I'm a polling station secretary, Jubilee or Legon. But by the grace of God, I can say that I can also contest as constituency officer, regional or national officer. It doesn't mean that the fact that you've put yourself up for national office, when after Tamale, the party believes that you can play a role at the constituency level or even at the electoral area level, you shouldn't. So I think that humility will also play a role. Those who are not going to be successful in Tamale should humble themselves. And I think that those who are going to be successful in Tamale should also humble themselves and show maturity. And the neutral arbiter, in my view, is going to be National Council, because after conference, National Council is the second highest decision-making body. So issues that will come or emanate from Tamale, they should quickly try to see how best they can deal with it, and we shouldn't allow NDC to feast on it. That is my point, because we must win 2016, and we must present a united front. That is very key. We shouldn't. It is not rhetoric that unity. Our actions and inactions even should show that we are united. And some of the points that Wanda raised, I mean, we shouldn't run away from them. We shouldn't, and we must do things better. And I trust that we need to elect leaders who will look in the face of former leaders of our party and tell them the truth. And that is very important. We need courageous leaders, leaders who will not lick the boots of some prominent persons in our party. We need leaders who themselves have an establishment within the party, have network within the party. And it's very critical that the delegates going to Tamale elect people that not only have access to. I think accessibility is key, but indeed you should go beyond that.
Okay. So you'll be going, right?
Definitely.
Okay.
Tomorrow morning.
We wish you all the best. Are you voting?
No, I'm not.
No, no, you're not delegates.
No, I'm not.
I understand over 5,200.
It's 5,285 or 60.
Almost 5,500.
Then it's almost like one policeman to one delegate. Because I'm told over 5,000 security.
No, but let me correct this impression. We are going to have about 12,000 people there. I was in Kumasi Sports Stadium doing 2010. And the supporters, yes, the supporters, you admit, are always outnumber the delegates.
No, I just wait. I'm just grateful.
But there is no mischief.
Thank you, Roland.
Okay, and let's look at the subject. And I know it's a subject Nana Educhum will talk a lot about, particularly when we talk about issues of divestiture and privatization by the state. It becomes more critical when we're looking at how we can make sure state agencies or state corporations are put in a better position to function, because there's been an action taken by the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors. They are set to go to court today. Today is April 10, to scuttle the execution of a contract between the Bulk Oil Storage and Transport Company and the specialist laboratories. The BDC's Chamber's action is the latest step in its campaign to prevent the management of Ghana's national petroleum stocks and highly sensitive strategic reserves from falling into unproven hands. We've always been hearing the issue about whether there'll be some privatization there, etc. But in managing some of these entities, what should be key?
You made the point that my interest, indeed, is in how our state institutions become productive. And it is at the bottom line of our welfare that we ensure that we put in place mechanisms to promote efficiency and effective resource allocation. This debate that I think started 3 days ago, I have not had the opportunity to read the contract, but I must congratulate Multimedia Group for the work that you did on that. The reason why I'm congratulating Multimedia is that NDC and President Mahama always...
Multimedia for what? What contract?
For exposing that, I heard it first and at
Which
least...
one?
The bulk oil storage deal, exposing that contradiction. The president was in Parliament some weeks ago promoting made in Ghana goods and showing the pair of shoes that he was wearing.
That the thing of the Ghanaian, or the
yes,
good of the Ghanaian,
which
is about.
I am for. Which I am for. It's very important that we promote our own industry. But just some few weeks later, then you want to hand over a strategic asset like bulk oil storage to a foreign entity. Then that raises a lot of doubt about your commitment to your own approach to national development. I am not saying that the contract is illegal or not, because in the first place I have not had the opportunity to read a contract. My worry is that if indeed you want to promote local participation, especially in our oil and gas sector, it is very important that you give priority to our local industry. And the Chamber of Bulk Oil Storage, also the folks in that institution, have made very important point that even apart from the fact that the company that you're going into that contract with is a foreign company, they don't have the track record. And to me, that is the bottom line. What shows that they can deliver? If there is no evidence, and it should be empirical, scientific evidence, that they've done it before in similar circumstance or environment, then I think that it will be very wrong for us to hand over such strategic asset. The second point is also that if you are going to hand over such a strategic asset, we must also, as a client, in this context, the government is representing the people of Ghana, must also have lessons learned in other political jurisdictions. And what happened in the United States, a situation where they handed the gathering or data aggregation to a third party, and now somebody is somewhere in Russia and they have access to this huge data, and they can decide to, the gentleman can decide to release any bit of it to cause problem for the diplomatic relationship of U.S. should be something that should also guide our decision making in regards to handing over such strategic asset. The last point that I want to make on this issue is that the ministries who are in charge, which are in charge not only in implementing government policies, but also formulating government policies, must also work hand in hand for Ghanaians to benefit from the kind of synergy or the collective effort of these ministries. I ask myself, if you look at the overall objective of the Ministry of Trade and you juxtapose that against the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, I don't see a contradiction. I only see contradiction in implementation, because Ministry of Trade would like to see many industries being owned by Ghanaians. The Ministry of Energy must work towards achieving that as well. So what is the responsibility of the Chief of Staff, for example, who is at the center of all the cabinet members? What is the interest of Chief of Staff, for example, in this contract? And we must also draw in the President, in my view, especially because he wants to see a lot of us using made in Ghana goods.
Now, when we have such a situation, now particularly when the bulk oil distributors feel that over the years, over the decades, they've invested so much in their own industry, and when it comes to trying to perhaps cede management of an entity like that to any private consortium or consortium or consultant or other entity, perhaps then you need to give a lot more priority to the expertise you have locally.
I think that sometimes we overstretch the argument and makes it look as
if... You mean your government is overstretching the argument?
I mean the opposition, the MPP will always want to create
I don't think that we've got it. It's not a matter of party issue.
No, I want to explain.
I think that it's more of an industry issue, because we have main players.
I would explain,
because I don't want you to make the party.
Okay, no
it's not about politics.
No
so let's remove the politics out of it.
I'll take it out. But I'm saying that maybe Ghanaians, let me say Ghanaians, we overstretch sometimes the argument to the point that we lose the content. What is a contract about? Now, BOST is not only endowed with the mandate to just manage tank farms. They have other responsibilities. If I'm not mistaken, they do imports as well to make sure that we have a reserve. Now, what is happening is that over the period, BOST is owed so much. I mean, they owe so much. Why? Because of the inefficiencies of the system. And also because, of course, lack of investment. We're not investing so much in that area. Now, we do have a model to talk about. For instance, in recent past, we actually ceded off the management of our water utilities to a foreign company, And
the experience was bad. So why do we want to repeat that then? Because if you're citing that, then the experience was bad, right?
No. It's not exactly the case. You know, we have not given Aqua Vitans the chance to explain to us. I've been in a lot of conferences with them, and they've explained what they were supposed to do. They were not supposed to do investment. The investments were the responsibility of the country.
They're supposed to do management.
Yeah, they were supposed to do management. And what's management? Make sure that there's enough all the time. That's the bit of it when it comes to this TSL.
And when they were there, they were organizing press conferences every day because we had shortages.
Because they were always the case of blaming them for everything when it was not their duty. We were mixing up issues. For instance, this TSL, contract, for instance, they were supposed to manage tank farms. And what's a tank farm? If you go towards the most conspicuous ones is the one at the Jerusalem gate, if you know, on your way to...
No, we know tank farm. Maybe you want to explain to the audience what tank farms are.
I want to explain what tank farms are. I really want to explain that. And then they're just coming in to manage. For instance, in recent
manage what? When already when you see the consent sir.
No, except you want the argument to go in.
No. You see the concern being raised by BOST, by the bulk oil distributors. You are not addressing.
I'm going to get to that.
No, because
I would get to that. I am saying this because they know very well the state in which bulk or BOST is with respect to the levels of reserves that we have. But none of these companies threw in a proposal to say that, hey, we have a better system to manage all these things that you have. None of them. The boss decides to opens up to everybody. You come and apply. If you think you can manage it better, come and do it. None of them applies. All of a sudden, there's red flag. We don't have a problem with the red flag. But I think that it has to do with an issue of communication. For instance, if BOST by itself had advertised this nicely, had a press conference, invited people in proposals for management and all that, and all Ghanaians are aware, and then it misses a Ghanaian, then we can talk. Maybe at that level we can say that they've done well. But because we were kept in the dark, no communication, nobody knew what was happening, and then all of a sudden a decision is taken, and then the backlash comes in. So there are issues, beyond the issues. To say that they didn't have the capacity, they don't have the track record, is neither here nor there. Because everybody goes into a business and learns sometimes on the job. In any case, it's not as if TSL is not in that business already. They're already in that business. You are talking about capacity, so you can't say track record. Track record is different from capacity. Capacity is a whole thing altogether. To say that you don't have enough money, you don't have the human resource, is not the same as you have not done that before. I could have done that alone, on my own, but I don't have the numbers to be able to do this one. Maybe it's a huge tax or a bigger tax. Then you're talking about capacity. But to lump the whole thing together and say that TSL cannot and all that is neither here nor there. They have considered that TSL has a capacity to store reserves up to 56 million cubic, right? And they give examples of other local, operators, which are not even local in itself. These are foreign partners who are partnered with Ghanaians. The companies that were mentioned, check the backgrounds of them. They are also foreign companies that are partnering with Ghanaians. And in this, state now, as we speak, what we're doing is public-private partnership. It doesn't look as if TSL is coming to take over the operations of BOST. No, that is not the case. They are only managing one unit, one department, or one
we know if there are concerns being raised by industry players. I believe
who are the industry players? You and I are also players.
Oh, no,
we are the end result of all these investments.
We are consumers.
No, if fuel is short in this country, is it only the industry players?
So we are consumers.
You made your point. No amount of shouting will make your point.
It's not the case.
We have the mic, so we'll raise your sound.
Yeah, we are stakeholders, but not...
But critically, then the argument should also be put in a certain stead, in which perhaps also we need to create the conditions for every entity, both local and foreign, to participate in whatever activity they're in. And this time, particularly when we have those who are involved in bulk distribution of oil coming to raise concerns, I believe that they need to be listened to by whichever agency or ministry that is supposed to be responsible.
Yeah, Roland, I think between the two of us, you don't
because
have
I've been in the media for a long time. Nobody raises anything for anything.
For anything.
It's because of something.
Because in the nature of our industry, or
they look at the contract, they see that the contract has
competition, and in competition, a lot of things do happen. But Wanda raised some points which to me are neither here nor there. The issues being raised by our folks in the bulk, I don't know their name, but it's bulk oil storage or so.
That is the chamber of bulk oil distributors.
They are direct stakeholders in the industry. And the fact that you are saying the boss did not communicate well to the larger Ghanaian raises even fundamental issue about the process of awarding the contract. And to me, it calls for recall of the whole process. I've participated in consulting contracts whereby we succeeded in raised protest. And indeed, if you look at our Procurement Act, one of the points that it raises is that fairness to everybody. So far as the person is a stakeholder or has shown interest in the project, you must grant him the same level of access that you are granting to other members in the competition. And another point is also that they are not saying the people do not have the capacity. They are raising issue about track record. And look, if you like, check in Daily Graphic for any advert asking for a consultant to bid for a job. Track record is very critical because nobody has time to experiment. And Ghana,
there's always a clause in there that says that you should have been within this very industry, or perhaps the membership of your consortium or your agency perhaps has that very track record
and they are there
per a number of years.
Yes.
And all these are indicated.
Points per number of years. So my point is that we don't have time to experiment.
It is not about experiment.
That is very important.
No, you made a point that they have to come and learn on the job.
Yes.
No, I'm saying,
no. That's okay. Let him make his point.
No, I need to clarify that before you get it off.
Mr. Madilo, let him make his point.
And it's very important that we must, the way the Nigerians behave, we must also learn from that. They give priority to their local people. And I think that, as I said, the president assured us that from henceforth, we're going to all at least wear made in Ghana shoes. The important thing is that we must also extend that to cover other industries. The one that was also talking about the fact that the bulk oil storage did not communicate well. Communicate well if it's maybe. But I think the bottom line is that if they had done a better communication, especially explaining the process to the bulk oil, those involved in the industry, they would not have raised the issue at this level. And the fact that that has happened, we should all reflect on it and make the point that we have to interrogate the process of awarding the contract, or even cancel the contract and open up to everybody to participate. We must also say, and to our international community out there, that we pride ourselves in attracting foreign direct investment. It is something that we work towards. In fact, if you look at the incentive being provided under the GIPC law, most of the incentive go to foreign entities. We've created a free zones enclave. We are always giving tax holiday to companies that decide to relocate in Ghana. And Ghana is not international business. We have created an environment for international business to enjoy. So I believe that this point that are being raised by our country before are very important.
That's it. No, Madilo. Oh, Madilo.
It could not be the case.
The Ghanaian Times has a story. It has a story. Drivers increase fares despite call for restraints. And well, the transport fares, so they worry anybody.
Coming back to transport, we'll talk about bus.
Okay. Okay, you want to make a comment?
No, let me make a comment on bus. And this, to me, I think that is unfair.
Which is unfair?
It's unfair if
are you a member of the consultant?
No, it's unfair.
Are you a member of
hold on. It's unfair if we lump everything together. If we lump everything together and say the way we're saying it. Majority of the people who are even calling for all this review and all that are saying that they have the capacity and they have not been given. So these are competitors. And these things are normal in the industry. When you have a competitor,
doesn't it make sense?
When you are giving, when you and I apply for a job,
doesn't it
and
make
I get
sense?
the job,
Doesn't it make sense that if same entities have perceived same capacity and expertise, and one is local, one is foreign, the priority should be given to local, just to consolidate capacity building, and also consolidate whatever inroads that are being made in a certain industry.
What is the what did the act say?
Particularly when the president also tends to go on that very tangent or create that very perception that what is Ghanaian needs to be Ghanaian.
No, we need to be real with ourselves.
That it's a business well.
If in all the discussions you do, you conclude by saying that we have to be fair, to say that Ghana is an investment destination in one breath, you've given a contract to a foreigner, suppose foreigner, I haven't seen the details of the owners of those companies yet. Suppose, you know, foreigner. And then you conclude that, oh, still, we need to go local content, we need to give priority to Ghanaian companies and all. Then I don't see the relevance. The issue is a public-private partnership. As to whether it's a Nigerian company or
it's neither here.
What is new or what is real is the fact that does the company have the capacity to deliver? Are they acting within the laws of our land? Number two, and finally, which is more critical, is that all these things have terms. We have terms. Why? Is this the first time we're signing a contract with a Nigerian company? The gas that is delivered in this country by Engas, is it not from Nigeria? So to create sometimes to make it look as if that is that bad. I mean, it doesn't work. Nigeria's experience in oil and gas far outweighs what we have.
Yeah, they started way back in the mid-70s.
So it could not be the case that
so they have a lot more capacity than we do.
I think that's true.
Okay, let's look at an issue. I think we have about 5 minutes. My director will allow me for 5 minutes. The Ghanaian Times says the assembly in Gan South municipality has won churches in the area. I want us to use 5 minutes. That they should install soundproof facilities of face closure because residents in the community are complaining. And I know many of you are all strong Christians. You go to church every Sunday. You wear the best suits. You polish your cars before going. This very directive. Do you think it's very Christian?
I've always had problems with this you know, blanket statements.
That churches make noise?
It's not only the churches that make noise. Every day you hear the mosques, they also make noise. Churches make noise. In fact, cars, drivers. In fact, hawkers. Everybody is making noise everywhere. Why? Because we have not really gone to the bottom of the issue. For instance, abroad, it will be difficult for you to see somebody crossing the road and then you are tooting your horn and making all the noise all over the place. You can even be arrested for tooting your horn at certain locations of town. I think what we should be doing, if we look at the way that the town and country planning guys go about their business, we would be able to get around this issue as fast as we have thought. Why? Because before a church is built and a building is put up, we need to look at all those requirements, and it should be part of the requirement for churches and mosques and whatever you want to call them to do what is right. And if we can do that from that level, from the beginning stages, and the way churches spring up every now and then, mosques also spring up every no registration, nobody goes through the right channels. You see one Jesus Alive ministry somewhere, and then the Gubin God ministry, and then, you know, everything is just in a mess. We need to reorganize the religious bodies that we have, how they are registered, where they locate, where they cannot locate, what kind of...
so we haven't done that. So until we do that,
we need to get that done. But to just say that churches are making noise, even there's according to the EPA law, there's a level of noise you can make, which others you cannot make. The decibel levels are clear. And so we need to be able to tell what decibel level is this church operating in order to warrant this. Otherwise, we're going to cause a lot of chaos, because Ghana is largely a very religious country.
Ronald, I think that the District Assembly is being very pragmatic. Look, our approach to dealing with issues should be solution-oriented, and it should be such that we can ask for results. I agree with Wanda. I was going to approach this discussion from that angle, the national picture, the way we carry about our residential and even development as a nation. We have committed so much mistake to the extent that if we want to correct them, it will call for a lot of pulling a lot of structures down. Can we afford that when we have a housing deficit? The pragmatic answer is we cannot afford.
Okay, so this is the directive by the Assembly.
The directive, look, I attend a church situated at a residential area.
That's bad.
That is bad. Do you know what we've done? We have put up a soundproof system.
Which church is that?
ICGC, West Legon branch.
Really?
Yes, Adonai Temple.
Your church is soundproof.
Soundproof.
Has been built in a way.
I can tell you that, in fact, the folks around our church took us to court before we did that. So that is a pragmatic way of dealing with the issue. I think that the churches must pay heed to this advice. They must invest in soundproof. But going forward, the new areas that we are going to develop, not only churches, where we cite our schools, where we cite mosques, where we cite even industry, especially commercial area. I went to KNUST, and there is an enclave called commercial area where everybody goes there. You cannot have containers or kiosks around the residential area. So we should develop our society with that kind of design in mind. The point about other noise makers, I think, is also fair. That indeed, not only Christians or churches make noise, our Muslim brothers also do make noise. But the honors will lie on those who are paid by you and me every month to ensure that the right thing is done. And I think the solution now within the areas that have been developed is right and appropriate.
Well, my top Christian politicians this morning, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I've had in the studio Wanda Madilo in the black, red, NDC colored attire, because he's a member of the NDC, of course. And next, the man who is not attired properly, even though he's a member of the MPP, Nana Educhum, who will be traveling tomorrow.
Kwabena Japan's speedy recovery, OPK, my friend.
Since you came, I think you've mentioned Kwabena Japan, but he's never been under discussion.
Yeah, no, but he was involved in an accident, so I have to wish him a speedy recovery.
Okay, we wish him well, though. Speedy recovery to you. And you'll be going tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what time?
Oh, 7, I think 7:10.
All right, you taking a flight?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, it's not overbooked?
Oh, no.
Oh, really?
As a member,
he's enjoying the better.
All right, so we've been talking about a lot more issues. Issues about just not discussing transport here, because transport will be discussed extensively on my banner with Mamavio Uswa Boati, but issues of bulk oil distribution, the MPP Congress foremost, and what needs to be done when churches are sited in residential areas. Should they be made to be soundproof or not? So those have been the discussions, and thanks also for your comments that have been posted on our Facebook and other social network pages.